The weather has been cold, chilly, occasional rains. Unusual in my zone, Zone 9B, Sacramento, the capital of California. Shalom, I'm Elder Yehuda, and it's been over 4 months since I posted a video on this particular channel on the YouTube platform. Although I'd like to sit here and share with you much information, I'm simply going to get right to it, and I'll come back with my commentary at the end of this showing. In the meantime, many of you have reached out through TikTok, through my messaging system on Instagram as well as YouTube, and you've asked, how is my garden doing and what have I been up to? Well, I've been quite busy, but we got so much footage and a lot of information I want to share with you. But for right now, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to show you the entire food forest, but I can guarantee you I'll break it up in segments. But for right now, let's show you my citrus side, since you folks are so eager to see that. Let's get started. Well, let me give you a swipe from right to left of the entire food forest. But today we're going to start off over on this side. And we're going to split this up over several segments. Now, right away you see this beautiful Nagami kumquat. It's in a 40-gallon container and is on a set of dollies that I DIY'd right here at home, made out of 2x4s. And you notice right away that this plant is absolutely gorgeous. The leaves are glossy. No, there's no artificial sprays. This is just the healthiness of the leaves. Because, well, as always, I'm always trying to figure out how to take better care of my trees. And through much experimentation, I got some exciting news to share with you folks, and I hope that you folks are eager to hear it. You don't want to miss any episodes that I upload on this channel when it comes to the food forest. Again, it's a beautiful tree. And remember, all of my trees are all standard. There are no dwarfs or semi-dwarfs in my backyard. And they're grown in containers. Yes, containers. Now, to the left here, there's a standard Meyer lemon, loaded with lots of lemon. Leaf production is coming back, and I'll show you folks a method to make sure your citrus trees produce a ton of leaves. Because some citrus trees have a habit of yellowing because that's just the nature of them in their beginning stages. And then as time goes and you feed them adequately, they'll respond by giving you that beautiful, lush growth. This is grown in a 40-gallon container. This is the standard. Anyone who tells you you can't grow standard trees in containers, well, they haven't been honest with you. It's on a dolly. This makes them very portable. And if need be, I can rotate them so that all of my trees get adequate light on all sides. Now, over to the left here, I have an Oro Blanco. This Oro Blanco produces a ton of fruit. It's over 9.5 feet tall now. It too is in a container. And I'll tell you something. This tree technically should be in the ground because it grows big fast. But for now, it's going to remain here. And if need be, I'll update it and grow it inside of a half IBC tote. Just in case you folks don't understand what an IBC tote is, this is one. This is a 275-gallon. And yes, you can grow citrus trees in here. I'm going to show you how to do that coming up. So as we make our way through here, we're going to walk through this plant that's going to seed. and we're gonna get on through here somehow. Now, if you folks remember, this is the Meyer lemon that I brought back literally from death. It's bold, beautiful, green, and luscious. 40-gallon container right here. And it gave me over 200 lemons this year. And I've taken the rest of the lemons off because if you don't, it's gonna signal the tree that it doesn't need to produce as many lemons coming this year. So let's continue on down this sidewalk here. And to the left, you see there's a Moro blood orange. And this year, it finally went ahead and fruited. The Moro blood orange, unlike the Sanguinella blood orange, well, they don't produce fruit at the same time or at the same rate. The Moro, once you put it in a container, it normally will take you about 2 years in order for it to get settled. Okay? After that, it'll start producing. So this is this year. Now, as we continue and over to the left here, we have the Mexican key lime. This is another fast grower. And once again, my fence line is 6 feet, according to the ordinance here in the Sacramento Valley. My trees, citrus trees, are all surpassed that. 40-gallon container. Everything is on a drip line, drip irrigation. It's very important. You don't want to have a food forest and come out trying to water everything every day, because that's not going to work. It never does. As we continue to go on here, we see there's a Eureka lemon. Now, these have a unique way of how they grow, the Eureka lemon. But nevertheless, they give you some big, beautiful, bold lemons. And you see the 40-gallon container here, and we got one that fell. So this one will go in the house. They're ripe. These lemons can stay on the tree for up to 7 months. 7 months is pushing it, but you know, after all, it's good. I'll leave this here and I'll pick it up later. But let's move along. My bees are active, as you can see. I didn't lose any bees since I started beekeeping. I did have part of my hive swarm. I'll bring that video up for you folks, and we'll talk about it, and I'll show you how I gathered them and split the hive and brought in a traditional hive. We'll talk about this another time. But here's my Sanguinella blood orange. It gave me very little oranges last year. Didn't give me much. And the first year was a lot of oranges. This year, it will be a tremendous amount because this thing is loaded. Every citrus tree in my backyard bloomed, held onto their blooms, and they were loaded with tons of fruit. So let's go ahead and we're gonna work our way over here. This is an Awari Satsuma. This was air layered from the mother plant. The mother plant is a beautiful, bold, gorgeous. Oh my gosh, when I show you folks that Awari Satsuma in a 40-gallon container, your jaws are going to drop. But this is an air layer, and it's been doing fine so forth. Okay, so we're gonna check the soil, the NPK, as the next couple of weeks. We're gonna see if it's time to, take it up a notch, or we have to, redo the soil for some unknown reason, but we'll find out. Now, as we walk through here, we go to the right here, and across from the Moro, we have this Bear's lime in a 40-gallon container. And once again, I hope that all of you have been paying attention to the trunk sizes. And see these here on the bottom? They're below that graph line. We need to go ahead and take those off, okay? That's very important, but don't throw your leaves away, just drop them right there. All right? Now, this tree is a beautiful tree once it gets its act together. But nevertheless, here you are. Now, over here, you see the tangelo. and it's producing a ton of fruit this year. It went into a full production of bloom. However, this one is not in a container. It's actually in a wooden box, but the wooden box is open to the ground. In essence, this is planted in the ground, and it does very well. So as we make our way over here, here's a smaller Bear's lime here. And I got to position this container somewhere because I relocated another plant. But this is a Bear's lime, just like the mother plant right here. But right in front of this plant here is a Clementine mandarin. This is one of my oldest trees, one of 3 of them. And this is the only tree in my food forest that always showed signs of yellowing, but I figured it out. And now it's producing. And it's bold and it's absolutely gorgeous. Okay? Beautiful tree. It's also grown in a wooden box that is open to the ground. And this is what you get. Now, let's walk back through here because there are some other citruses that I want to share with you. Here is a cara cara in a 20-gallon container. Here's another cara cara in a 20-gallon container. And I'm ducking as I walk through here, folks. Here's another cara cara in a 20-gallon container. Once again, everything is on a drip. Now, since we've left the last cara cara, which makes that 3, we have a small Meyer lemon here. Now, believe it or not, this is one of 3 Meyer lemons that I all bought at the same time. I gave one to Brother Guzman. I kept one and healed it. This was the last one that needed to be healed. Okay, and because of my experiment, well, I had to keep it in this pot to see what it'll do. It's finally producing its leaves, and it's getting the shade from these other fruit trees here. But I think it's time to go ahead and step it up a notch and possibly put it in a 40-gallon container. I don't suggest newbies do this because the bigger the container, the less likely the roots are to get water. Let's move along. So right ahead, right away, you see there's a 40-gallon container on a dolly. You folks ready for this? Look at that Awari Satsuma. It's wider than the camera lens right now in a 60p frame rate. Let's get on the other side. Here we are, 40-gallon container, dripper. Look at how bold this tree is. It's got a ton of fruit on it. And see, this is the only time you should be trimming citrus trees, when you have dead branches like this. Okay? You just get in here and you clip. Some people tell you the best time to do it is in the spring, but I say anytime is the best time. It's dead, so it's not going to harm the tree by you taking it off. Then you'll see some webbing up in here like this. If you ever see that webbing, make no mistake about it. You know, it could be easily anything. But spiders also like to make citrus trees their homes. And spiders are your friends. They're going to take care of a lot of the bugs. There's a lot of praying mantises and ladybugs that are in my garden this year by the thousands. I've never had them like that naturally. And I didn't have to purchase any this year. But oh my greatness, they are here. But if you don't look close, you won't recognize the fruitlets on here because they're dark green, just like the leaves. But this thing is bold. And check out that trunk. Isn't that amazing? Once again, regular grease, Vaseline right here. Okay? And that stops the ants from going up and going down. However, you don't want to use Vaseline when the temperature starts to get high from 90 and up, because it will literally cook your trunk. Here's the product you should be using. Tree Tanglefoot. I've been using this product for 4 years since I've been at this location. And it works. It works great. Okay? Now, one of the things that most people make the mistake of, they put this nakedly on the trunk of the tree. That's a huge no-no. You want to wrap this with some form of tape. We're not talking about a sticky tape, but you want to wrap it. And once you do that, you want to go ahead and spread this on it with some sort of putty knife, as I have here. And it'll protect the tree throughout the season. Quite simple, right? Tree Tanglefoot. This is a wonderful product, wonderful insect barrier, but I'm going to share with you in a later video what else this is good for. It's going to be a quite shocker. So let's go ahead and move around this way, and I'm going to show you the last of my citrus. And to the left here, going down this walkway, there's a Nagami kumquat container. There's a second Nagami kumquat and a third Nagami kumquat. Well, I hope that you folks enjoyed this showing of my 2022 edible landscape food forest, however you want to, however you want to call it. Here's one I want to ask you though, because a lot of people don't understand what food forests mean. Years ago, I spoke to you folks and told you my goal was to create a suburban edible food forest. A food forest based on permaculture principles. What does that mean? Well, a food forest have layers, and those layers mean overstory trees, such as your nut trees and fruit trees, understory trees, such as your citrus trees and dwarfs, and then trees underneath that, such as your berry bushes and all sorts of bush-like edibles, and then your herbs, and then your ground cover. That's what I managed to do. I'm going to come back with part 2 immediately and share the fruit orchard, all of my stone fruit. And then we're going to start talking about my herbs and all the perennials, because everything I grow back here are perennials with the exception of my root crops, such as sweet potatoes, my garlics and onions. These are the things we grow. We do not eat nightshades in that family. We stopped 2 years ago because after my allergy test and finding out from my rheumatologist what was causing me inflammation in my joints, having lupus, was nightshade plants. And I'm going to get more specific with that. I'm going to share with you everything that I'm allergic to, the things that are not good for me. And I'm going to show you the individual who watches me, my wife, and she makes sure that I eat healthy. In that case, do understand my trees look the way they do, and results may vary, especially if you do not follow my protocol. My trees, whether they be in a wooden box in the ground or a container, I make sure I feed them 4 to 6 inches of compost, my own compost, every year. Okay? Every year. I'm going to come back with some surprises and some companions that have shown up around my citrus trees. Most of you folks are going to be sort of baffled, but I assure you, I'll explain it and I'll break it down when it comes to what they call science. But I call it, well, simply put, let me just end it here. The first food forest was the Garden of Eden. Adam didn't have to do anything to it. A food forest requires that you do not cut grass and pull weeds. And it requires that you're growing mostly perennial foods. That's what a food forest. Let it work for you. You don't have to work for it. Adam didn't have to do anything but eat what he needed. And, well, he was a steward of the garden. He was a shepherd, and a good shepherd he was. Well, up until that time. Until next time, stay tuned. I'll be back. I guarantee you. And we'll talk a little bit more about why I'm back on this channel. Take care of yourselves.